7th lunar month, right on the dot of 12 midnight. It was a wonder anyone caught the tapping outside the door to the flat. The 80s music drowned out whatever was declaimed to my guests at this Hungry Ghost Festival party. Somehow, I managed to hear that sound from outside the door. I didn't bother to excuse myself. My friends didn't pretend to pay attention. They didn't even hear the door. They continued to bop and sway to the thumbs of music. I put down my beer. I felt tipsy. I sidestepped drunk guests and headed to the source of the tapping. I couldn't have a hangover already. My party began only hours ago at 5 that evening. The knocking got louder as I walked to the door. I reached for the handle. I was by now sloshed. The tapping boomed inside my head. For hell's sake. This guest was 7 hours late to the party. I hadn't run shut the gate. I wrenched open the door. The man on the doorstep had on a woman's dress. It was tattered. It was wet in places with red, as if he had ripped it off some woman in a car accident. I took in the beard, dripping in red. I had a thing for beards, any variety and length, even this wretched-looking one. Oh my, you have come all dressed up, haven't you? I purred, hand on hip, accompanied the look. The man had crimson, sticky-looking makeup. It complemented his bloodshot eyes. Nobody told this guy it wasn't costume night for Halloween, but come as you are for the Hungry Ghost Festival. He had that crazed look. He must have had a few before heading over here. I smiled and was going to hand him a beer. Then I remembered I wasn't holding one. I stepped aside, bowed, and waved the man in. I straightened up. I blinked my contacts to focus over the fuck of alcohol and the night's heat. But no one was in front of me. Well, how forward! I closed the door and went to join the fray in the room. I half expected to find my new guest in the thick of the reveling throng. He must be the partying type, having gone through that effort on that costume. I hoped the man's bloody mess wouldn't leave any marks on my carpets or walls, or on the chairs I placed in front of the makeshift little stage. Well, it was more of a raised platform, really. I was hoping the night would go on and the music grew louder, or the other way around, softer. I might persuade some camp friends to get up on the stage and do some kind of absurd musical or something. The morning had arrived, or rather the small hours of the morning, and nobody had laid a foot on the carpeting over the makeshift stage. I pushed aside dancing bodies and spotted my guest. The man in the dress had made himself at home on one of the chairs in front of the stage. The poor sot mistook his bravado with his costume for some kind of flamboyance. Apparently he was the shy or introvert type, but I was sure my gator hadn't missed him out. I spied a naked and damply crimson angular knee draped over a thigh. The man seemed to be staring at the stage, but there was nothing going on there. Everything happened behind the row of chairs. My other guests were having a good time, shaking it all over the non-stop music. I approached the man from behind. I leaned over. I tapped the man on some untainted part of a bare shoulder. No reaction. Was the man drunk already? Perhaps he'd round down a couple before making his way to this seat. I tapped him again. I finally got some reaction. The man twisted up to see who touched him. I must be mistaken again. How odd the way the man twisted his neck to look up. No normal person would be able to wrench his neck so far around like that, unless he was a kind of contortionist. And by the looks of it, couldn't be, with that rictus of a grin and those bleeding teeth. And had those bloodshot eyes become more intense since I last saw them at the front door? Did the man somehow manage to have eye drop more red liquid? I felt a frisson. Did I feel my limbs shudder? And it wasn't to the music. I turned around. I wanted to call out to someone, anyone flailing away in some form of dance moves. I wanted to holler, "Get over here! See this weird dude with that Halloween costume. Isn't he hilarious? How he dresses and how he moves his head towards me." Of course, I couldn't make myself heard over the music. No one's paying me any heed, much less look over at me. I gave up. I turned back. I did a double take. The chair was empty. Well, our friend is a fast mover. I leaned over the back of the once occupied chair. I expected to find stains over the seat and the back. But not a single speck. The chair looked as if it hadn't been sat on. I huffed. I could smell beer on my breath and looked around for just my arrived guest. A shirtless man, slick with sweat, danced his way towards me. I clasped his arm. The dancer was trying to jump up and down to the music. I tried to clasp one of his raised arms. I put my mouth to his ear. I shouted, "Did you see the man who was sitting there just now?" I gestured at the empty chair. I tried to describe the missing guest as best as I could. I made sure I included details to stand out. The tattered and bloody dress, and not forgetting the red dripping beard. The dancer caught on, and nodded not to the music, but to me. He didn't speak, but raised a finger. My eyes followed his direction. A painted nail pointed at the kitchen. I mumbled out thanks. I doubted the dancer could hear me. He resumed bopping up and down. I made a beeline towards the kitchen. I had dissipated my intoxication. I managed to weave through the throng without swaying. The light in the kitchen was off. I stood under the door frame. I reached for the light switch on the wall. The lights came on. I found my guest, and he wasn't alone. I remarked in a low voice, "The slut. He didn't waste any time making a score, did he?" The man in the dress was slumped over someone. I couldn't see who, only a pair of bare arms. He was moving his head up and down. God, kissing already? I moved towards the lovers. "You can stop this thing now. This is the kitchen and there are food here. I don't want your saliva spoiling them." I had to tap the man on the shoulder. He turned around. That same old rictus of a smile, and now the bare teeth were even more covered in red. I could see the person beneath the man in the red dress. My colleague Sammy from office. Sammy's dead. It seemed that nothing at all. Below his bristles was a lot of red, and I could see a sort of hole, a gap, or a big tear on his throat. I looked into the deep red of the eyes of the man in the red dress. I was drawn towards them. The man's head loomed. The eyes rounded, got larger, until I could see into their darkness. Someone screamed behind me, but the sound faded away.